Here's my review for the Name of the Wind expansion for Call to Adventure, the board game. Hello everyone and welcome back to the BattleCast. In today's video I am doing a review for Call to Adventure's first expansion, The Name of the Wind. Now this expansion's from Brotherwise Games, the makers of Call to Adventure, and if you haven't seen my review for Call to Adventure, go ahead and check it out. But the TL didn't watch. It's a very good game, totally unique, and a sleeper hit of mine came out of nowhere, and I really enjoy playing it. So this Name of the Wind expansion is actually based on the Patrick Rothfuss series, The Kingkiller Chronicles. Now this world is full of supernatural beings that live in a parallel universe, and elements can be bent to your will as long as you know the name. Now, as always, I review games based on gameplay, components, and fun factor, so let's go ahead and jump into gameplay. So the core gameplay of Call to Adventure is not changed by this expansion, nor the endgame scoring, or the overall objective of the game. However, a new avenue of getting there has been introduced. The new mechanism is called naming. When a player fails a challenge, they are now able to attempt the naming of an element. For this test, you do not add any extra runes, you only use the basic runes, and you need a combined success total of 4. Now the basic runes can only achieve you a maximum of 3 success, so you kind of have to find your success elsewhere. Either by having the appropriate runes in your story, or by having completed challenges that share the element symbol with the element you're trying to name. If you are successful in naming this element, in all future tests that have that element on them, you immediately pass. Additionally, each name of an element you have learned is worth 3 points at the end of the game. The Name of the Wind expansion also does away with the nature symbol and introduces the music symbol. And lastly, this expansion introduces a whole new host of hero and anti-hero cards, and they generally promote more interaction between the players, which is something the original game was a bit lacking of. When you buy this expansion, the rulebook instructs you to remove some cards from the core game to kind of help balance out the overall game with all these new additions. Now moving on to the components. There's nothing really super groundbreaking or different as far as components go. The naming tokens are standard, the card stock is still very nice. Now the art, however, now that is why you buy this game. It is absolutely drop-dead gorgeous, and it is put on display with the use of the tarot-size cards. People who know the Kingkiller Chronicles will recognize themes and locations in these cards. And the Fae cards, oh my gosh, they're just so nice. I love how the individual artists are acknowledged on each card. I could stare at these things all day. Now moving on to fun factor. Now, Call to Adventure is an absolute blast. If you haven't seen my review, it is a totally unique gameplay experience, and Name of the Wind is essentially just more of same. I will say that this expansion does change the flow of the game, and not necessarily for the better. This game ends when the first player gets 3 story cards underneath their final act or their destiny card. When that happens, it triggers the end of the game, and so everybody else gets 1 more turn, and then the game ends. Because you need to fail a challenge in order to attempt the naming of an element, failing is now incentivized in a way that was not so in the core game. If you do successfully name an element, the risk of failing your challenge, may actually pay off, because now you're going to auto-pass all of these rather difficult and highly rewarding challenges in the future, and that may actually slingshot you past people who were not taking the risk. But naming an element is not easy, and if you do fail naming, you generally are set back. The problem with this system is that if you're taking the risk to name elements and failing challenges, and some other people at your table are just playing the game normally because this naming thing is totally optional, then they might actually rush the end of the game with you having lagged several challenges behind. This game in particular suffers very badly when one person finishes the game way ahead of everyone else, as you don't even get your full story at the end, points aside. I once finished a game with someone still in Act 2 and somebody had completely finished the game. Furthermore, only about 22 challenges in this game actually have the elements on them that you can benefit from naming an element, and that's out of about 110 cards. So is it worth risking failing challenges so that you can name an element when the likelihood of one of those challenges coming up that you auto pass is, it's not substantial? If you're playing with particularly savvy people, you might actually learn the name of an element, but then your fellow players will spend experience to cycle out the card that you will auto-pass. Now, I'll be the first to say that I have never viewed Call to Adventure as a competitive game. In fact, it is my go-to game for people who are not competitive in nature or are just looking for a totally unique board game experience. My enjoyment in this game, and I do get a lot, is based on the completing of a very cool story unique to me and the enjoyment of looking at the beautiful art on these cards. I think to get maximum value out of this expansion, you need to have a bit of a gentle person's agreement where if one player is really far ahead by virtue of other people failing challenges, then that person probably should try and name some elements and slow down the roll of the game. Try and take risks and finish the game closer together. I don't think that this is like a must-have expansion for the game, but it is absolutely a nice-to-have expansion. For the reasonable price of $20, you get some really new spicy hero and anti-hero cards, some cool challenges, and absolutely drop-dead gorgeous art. If you're a fan of the Kingkiller Chronicles, then seeing the art in this game can really help kind of flush out your understanding of the world of Temerant. And that might be worth it unto itself. I definitely enjoy the Name of the Wind expansion, and as long as you view this element as a game as a opportunistic ability, you're not kind of recklessly failing challenges to try and accomplish this new aspect, it fits in very nicely to the gameplay, and yeah, totally a good addition. So that's my review for the Name of the Wind expansion for Call to Adventure. The next one is promising to be the Stormlight Archive expansion from Brandon Sanderson. I hope you found this review helpful and you enjoyed watching the video. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please consider supporting the channel by liking this video or subscribing to the channel, and especially hitting that bell icon. Feel free to leave comments in the comments section below. I love talking with you guys. Until next video, I'll see you then. Thanks.